Hello everybody, this is Patrick from Palm OFCC, where I attempt to do 25 minutes of free code camp every day. Hopefully, today we are getting back into the applied accessibility section of free code camp. So let's go ahead and start our tomato timer. 25 minutes, let's roll. So make screen reader navigation easier with the footer landmark. Similar to header and nav, footer element has a built-in landmark feature that allows assistive technology to quickly navigate to it. It's primarily used to contain copyright information or links to related documents. They usually sit at the bottom of the page. Evercat's training page is making good progress. Change the div he used to wrap his copyright information at the bottom of the page to a footer element. Okay. So down here you see the copyright. I'm just going to change this to footer. Not footber. Footer. This is going to be footer. Here we go. Easy peasy. Alright, improve accessibility to audio content with the audio element. HTML5's audio element gives semantic meaning when it wraps sound or audio stream in your content markup. Okay. Audio content also needs a text alternative to be accessible to people who are deaf or hard of hearing. This can be done with nearby text on the page or a link to a transcript. The audio tag supports the controls attribute. This shows the browser default play, pause, and other controls and supports keyboard functionality. This is a Boolean attribute, meaning it doesn't need a value. Its presence on the tag turns the settings on. Here's an example. So you have audio, ID, controls, and then the source, which has two sources here. Multimedia content usually has both visual and auditory components. It needs synchronized captions and a transcript for users with visual and auditory impairments can access it. Generally, a web developer is not responsible for creating the captions or transcripts, but needs to know to include them. Time to take a break from CamperCat and meet fellow camper Xerxix, champion of accessibility and screen reader use. To hear a clip of his screen reader action, add an audio element after the P. Include the controls attribute, then place a source tag inside the audio tags with the src attribute set to this and type attribute set to audio mpeg. Okay, so we're going to have audio. Let's close it. And put controls in here. So there you see the controls pop up. And we're going to have a source. Is source self-closing? I noticed they have this kind of slash closing tag. Is that necessary? We'll find out. So source src equals, copy this here, paste. Type audio slash mpeg. Work if I just close it like that? Yeah, it does. Can you hear that? I don't know if you can hear that. Let's see if play. That's what a screen reader sounds like. It's really fast. So, you want to learn how to browse the web really fast, get used to listening to screen readers really fast. So I think that's all we need to do. Passed. Good. Okay, HTML5 introduced the figure element, along with the related fig caption. Used together, these items wrap a visual representation like an image, diagram, or chart along with its caption. This gives twofold accessibility boost by both semantically grouping related content and providing a text alternative that explains the figure. For data visualizations like charts, the caption can be used to briefly note the trends or conclusions for users with visual impairments. Another challenge covers how to move a table version of the chart's data off screen using CSS for screen reader users. Here's an example. Note that the fig caption goes inside the figure tags and can be combined with other elements. So you got a figure, then inside you have an image, and then a break, then a fig caption, the caption, fig caption, and then closing figure tag. Okay, CamperCat is hard at work creating a stacked bar chart showing the amount of time per week you spend training in stealth, combat, and weapons. Help him structure his page better by changing the div tag he used to a figure tag and a p tag that surrounds the caption to a fig caption tag. So change code below this line, stack bar chart will go. Alright, so this is going to be a figure. And then close figure here. Instead of this being a P, it's going to be a fig caption. Type in fig caption here. And there we go. I think that's all we need to do for this one. Test. Let's go to the next one. Improve form field accessibility with the label element. Improving accessibility with semantic HTML markup applies to using both appropriate tag names as well as attributes. The next several challenges cover important scenarios using attributes in forms. I definitely need more practice with forms because I don't ever remember like how to fully put them out, especially label for this input type. I just haven't done it enough, I guess. The label tag wraps the text for a specific form control item, usually the name or label for a choice. This ties meaning to the item and makes the form more readable. The for attribute on a label explicitly associates that label with the form control and is used by screen readers. Because you got for, type, ID, name. It just seems like a lot of attributes that you have to remember when doing forms. But I guess you get used to it after you do it for a while. You learned about radio buttons. Hold on, did I read this? The for attributed labeled form control is used by screen reader. Okay. You learned about radio buttons and their labels in a lesson in the basic HTML section. In that lesson, we wrapped the radio button input inside a label element, along with the label text in order to make text clickable. Another way to achieve this is by using the for attribute as explained in this lesson. The value of the for attribute must be the same as the value of the ID attribute. So for name, that points to this. And it's confusing when they use name. I wish they could have just, used like age here. So it'd be label for age. It would say age, and then the ID would be age, and then name will equal age. That would make sense. The value for the for attribute must be the same as the ID. Okay. CamperCat expects a lot of interest in his thoughtful blog post and wants to include an email sign-up form. Add a for attribute for the email label that matches the ID on its input field. Okay, so for email. It's pretty simple because the ID is email. Is that all we had to do? Just so. From the test. Right. The next form topic covers accessibility of radio buttons. Each choice is given a label with a for attribute tying it to the ID of the corresponding item as covered in the last challenge. Since radio buttons often come in a group where the user must choose one, there's a way to semantically show the choices are part of a set. You got a legend here. Okay. Field set tags surrounds the entire grouping of radio buttons to achieve this. So you got form and then field set and then all your buttons. Okay. Field set doesn't have like any IDs, or it just says field set. It often uses a legend tag to provide a description for the grouping, which is read by screen readers for each choice in the field set element. Okay. Field set wrapper and a legend tag are not necessary when the choices are self-explanatory, like a gender selection. Using label with the 4 attribute for each radio button is sufficient. Okay. Trying to figure out this legend. The legend tag to provide a description for the grouping. This legend tag doesn't provide a prescription or a description. It just says choose one of the 3 items. Campercat wants information about the ninja level of his users when they sign up for his email list. He added a set of radio buttons and learned from our last lesson to use label tags with 4 attributes on each choice. Okay. Okay. I was looking at the code, sorry. Change the div tag surrounding the radio buttons to a field set tag, then change the P inside it to legend. Okay. It's easy to do this, but when I was looking at the code, or the markup I should say, since it's HTML, this is going to be legend. And it puts like a little box around it. That wasn't there before. So what level ninja are you, newbie kitten? So you got a button, input ID, newbie, radio, name, levels. All these still have the same names, so they're all part of the same group. Value, newbie. Okay. Forms often include the input field, which can be used to create several different form controls. Type attribute of this element indicates what kind of input will be created. You've noticed the text and submit input types in prior challenges. HTML5 introduced an option to specify a date field. Depending on browser support, a date picker shows up on the input field when focused, which makes filling in the form easier for users. For older browsers, the type will default to text, so it shows the users the expected date format in the label or placeholder text, just the case. So it helps to show users expected format. Okay. Enter a date. Or input 1, name input 1. Yeah. Hypercap is setting up a Mortal Kombat tournament and wants to ask his competitors to see what date works best. Add an input tag with the type attribute of date and an ID of pick date and a name attribute of date. Okay. Input. You can have a label in there? Guess not. Type equals date. ID equals pick date. And name date. That's it. Is that all we have to do? So it gives you like a little calendar picker. Pretty cool. I think most browsers support that, at least modern browsers. And it's really easy. Alright, standardized times with HTML5 datetime attribute. Continuing with the date theme, HTML5 also introduced the time element along with a datetime attribute to standardize time. This is an inline element that can wrap a date or time on a page. Time element, datetime attribute. Okay. Helps avoid confusion by stating a standardized version of time, even if it's written in an informal or colloquial manner in the text. So, Master Camper Cat officiated the cage match between Goro and Scorpion, time, daytime, 2013, February 13th. Last Wednesday time. Which ended in a draw. How does that look? Sorry, folks, I was just reading the HTML. Okay. Capricat's Mortal Kombat survey results are in. Wrap a time tag around the text Thursday, September 15. Add a date time attribute. Just set it to 2016 9/15. Okay. Do time. Date time equals. That's be in quotes? Yeah. Excuse me. Do 2016 or 9/15. Close out time right here. Doesn't really change anything here. You hover over it. Not seeing anything change. I mean, this is going to pass, but you can't see any visual change to this. Alright, make elements visible to a screen reader by using custom CSS. Have you noticed that all of the applied accessibility challenges so far haven't used any CSS? This is to show the importance of a logical document outline and use semantically meaningful tags around your content before introducing the visual design aspect. However, CSS magic can also improve accessibility on your page when you want to visually hide content meant only for screen readers. This happens when information is in a visual format like a chart, but screen reader users need an alternative presentation like a table to access the data. CSS is used to position the screen reader elements off the visual area of the browser window. So we got .sr only, which is a class. Absolute, it's like a 10,000 pixels off to the left, and it's really small. Overflow hidden. The following CSS approaches will not do the same thing. Display none or visibility hidden hides content for everyone, including screen reader users. Zero values for pixel sizes such as width 0, height 0 removes the element from the flow of your document, meaning screen readers will ignore it. So you have to use this where you're positioning it well off the page. Okay. Capricat created a really cool stacked bar chart for his training page and put the data into a table for his visually impaired users. The table already has an SR only class, so let me see. So here's a table right here. Not a big fan of tables, but it is what it is. Give the position an absolute value. Okay. Left of negative 10,000 pixels, and I'll take it way off to the left with the 1 pixel and a height of 1 pixel. So you can't see it on the page, but it's still in the screen reader still sees it, because it's still in the HTML. Okay. That's pretty easy. Alright, next challenge. Improve readability with high contrast text. Low contrast between the foreground and background colors make text difficult to read. And this is very true as I've gotten older. Low contrast stuff becomes harder and harder to read. But what exactly does sufficient mean? Web content accessibility guidelines recommend at least 4.5 to 1 contrast ratio for normal text. Ratio is calculated by comparing the relative luminance values of two colors. This range is 1:1 for same color to 21:1 for white against black. There are many contrast checking tools available online that calculate this ratio for you. Capricat's choice of a light gray text and a white background for his recent blog post has a 1:5 to 1 contrast ratio, making it very hard to read. It's very hard to read. Change the color of the text from current gray to a darker gray. Okay. Improve it to 6:1. So we're going to paste this in here. Boom. It's a lot easier to read. I think it still could be a little bit darker. But, my old eyes aren't as good as they used to be, so, but it's still readable. I can still read it. This should pass. Alright. Avoid color blindness issues by using sufficient contrast. Color is a large part of visual design, but its use introduces two accessibility issues. issues. First color alone should not be used as the only way to convey important information because screen reader users won't see it. Second, foreground and background colors need sufficient contrast so colorblind users can distinguish them. Previous challenges have covered text alternatives to address the first issue. Last challenge introduced contrast checking tools with the second. The recommended contrast ratio of 4.5 to 1 applies for color use as well as grayscale combinations. Colorblind users have trouble distinguishing some colors from others, usually in hue, but sometimes lightness as well. You may recall the contrast ratio is calculated using the relative luminance values of foreground and background. In practice, 4.5 to 1 contrast ratio can be reached by shading darker color and tinting the lighter color. Darker shades on the color wheel are considered to be shades of blues, violets, magentas, and reds, whereas lighter tinted colors are oranges, yellows, greens, and blues. Campercat is experimenting using color for his blog text and background, but his current combination of greenish background color and maroon text has a 2.5 to 1 contrast ratio. He easily adjusts the lightness of the color since he declared him using HSL, property which stands for hue, saturation, lightness, by changing the third argument. Increase the background color lightness from 35 to 55%. Okay. And that already makes it a little easier to read. And decrease the color lightness value from 20 to 15. Oops. 15%. Should make the text a little darker. Yeah, that's much easier to read. Improves the contrast to 5 to 1. So if you could change this to like 5, it'd be almost black. Change this to 75, it'd be whiter. Actually easier to read too. Alright, let's run the test. Done. Avoid color blindness issues by carefully choosing colors that convey. I can't read the rest. Convey information. Okay. There are various forms of color blindness. These can range from reduced sensitivity to a certain wavelength of light to the inability to see color at all. The most common form is a reduced sensitivity to detect greens. For example, if two similar green colors are a foreground and background color of a content, a colorblind user may not be able to distinguish them. Close colors can be thought of as neighbors on the color wheel, and those combinations should be avoided when conveying important information. Some online color picking tools include visual simulations how colors appear for different types of color blindness. These are a great resource in addition to online contrast checking calculators. Campercat is testing different styles for an important button, but the yellow and the green are neighboring hues on the color wheel and virtually indistinguishable for colorblind users. Their similar lightness also fills the contrast ratio text. Change the color to dark blue. Solve both problems. Paste this in there. So I can't right click paste. Yeah, much more readable. Alright. Give links meaning by using descriptive link text. Screen reader users all have different options for what type of content the device reads. This includes skipping to or over landmark elements, jumping to the main content, or getting a page summary for the headings. Another option is to only hear links available on the page. Screen readers do this by reading the link text or what's between anchor tags. Having a list of click here or read more isn't helpful. Instead, you should use brief but descriptive text with the A tags to provide more meaning to the users. So here it says click here for more information. The link text Campercat is using is not very descriptive without the surrounding context. Move the anchor tags so they wrap around the text information about batteries instead of click here. That's pretty simple. I'm just going to cut this out. Paste it right here. And now it is click here for more information about batteries, and that's what the screen reader will read out. Instead of just saying, if a screen reader just goes to a page and there's a bunch of click here, click here, click here, or read more, read more, read more, they don't get any context. But if it says click here for information about batteries, they're getting context for that link. Alright, so we run the test. Oh, missing it. Oh, they don't want click here in there, so we're just gonna... So, okay. I thought it made sense to have it around the click here. So now they would only hear information about batteries. Alright, our timer is up. Let's close that out. So this should pass. Okay, there we go. So the next challenge is going to be make links navigable with HTML access keys, and we'll get to that hopefully tomorrow. Until then, thank you for watching a Palm of FCC. This is Patrick, and hopefully I will make it through this whole journey on Freecode Camp. Every time I pull up the curriculum, I'm like, wow, it's a lot of stuff. Let's go to the curriculum here. We're just here in this first one. As you can see, there's JavaScript, front-end development, data visualization, APIs, quality assurance, scientific computing, data analysis, information security, machine learning, and then coding interview prep. So I'm looking forward to going through this whole thing. What is this up here? Is this what we have been working on? Okay. So I guess it's gonna move along with me. Or browse our other free certifications. We recommend doing these in order. Alright, I'm rambling. Thank you for watching and see you tomorrow.